Previously on the Blockbuster Buster.
Again, my God, did you guys pick a horrible movie this year. There is no horror movie that could be worse than this one. Greetings, mommies and monsters. I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. Before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was only one successful shared universe in the world of entertainment, and that was the Universal Monster Movieverse. In the late 2000s, after the success of the MCU, plans were put into motion to revive the Universal Monster movies, starting with The Wolfman. Yeah, that movie didn't go over so well. So in the 20-teens, they tried again with Dracula Untold. You wanna know how bad that movie was? It was so bad, I busted it. If you wanna know more about it, go watch the video. So after two misfires, Universal tried yet again to reboot their monster franchise, this time dubbing it the Dark Universe. And they were going to officially start this legendary monsterverse with The Mummy? But they already did The Mummy in the 90s with Brendan Fraser. Whatever. As long as they get somebody cool to play the lead. Tom Cruise? Mother! So our movie begins with a little backstory, as we see the origins of our mummy.
Are you my mummy?
Who in this movie is a woman, and she is played by Sofia Boutella. Okay. So far, so good. We find that the soon-to-be mummy, Amenet, is the next in line for the throne of Egypt, until her father has a son, who will now be pharaoh in her place. Amenet refuses to accept this, and makes a deal with Set, the god of the dead. He will give her the power to usurp her father, and she will provide him with a human vessel that he can possess so he can walk among the living. So Amenet uses her new powers to sneak into her father's well-guarded chamber and kill him, his wife, and their baby? Oh my God! They opened this movie, this entire multi-million-dollar franchise, with the titular character, the legendary mummy, killing a baby. But before Amenet can fulfill her part of the bargain and provide Set with a host body, Pharaoh's priests capture her very easily, in spite of the fact that she has the powers of a god. And then they mummify her alive, so she won't play humanity with her baby-killing evil. Seriously, that was fucked up. So we cut to modern-day Iraq, where we see that Tom Cruise and his comic relief sidekick are soldiers who are about to infiltrate enemy territory. Not because they are under orders to do so by their superior officer, but because there might be treasure in this occupied town. And thus, we arrive at this movie's first big problem. Our hero is an unconscionable douchebag.
Come on, slip in, slip out, just like we always do. You son of a bitch! Oh my God! We're gonna die! We're gonna die!
Now, I'm not trying to imply that Tom Cruise is a bad actor. He isn't. It's just that playing a lovable jerk is a very particular skill that only a few actors have. Like Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams, Matt Ryan as Constantine, and Nathan Fillion as Captain Malcolm Reynolds. Tom Cruise does not possess this skill.
We're not going. Dale? Oh, no! You crazy bastard! It's a full day's ride to the nearest water! What an asshole!
During the battle, Tweedledee and Tweedledickhead cause the mummy's tomb to open, which gets the attention of the archaeologist who Tom Cruise stole the treasure map from. Yeah, he stole the map.
That I had him in my hotel room 3 nights ago in Baghdad, and whilst I was sleeping, he went through my things.
So the dumbass duo accompany the second hottest archaeologist ever into the tomb. Oh, you want to know who the first hottest archaeologist of all time is? Well, isn't it obvious? Hey, I give credit where credit is due.
Whatever's in there, those strains aren't for bringing it up. They're for holding it down.
somehow, someway, Dr. Hotness gets the US military to agree to transport the mummy's sarcophagus. Until they run into a little turbulence. Looks like the mummy gave them the bird. Look, not all these jokes can be gold, okay? I will admit that the plane crash is the coolest scene in the movie. There's just one little itty-bitty little problem with it. It happens at the beginning of the movie, which means that we have a lot of mediocrity to look forward to. Tommy Boy manages to save Dr. Hotness by giving her the last parachute, but the plane crashes before he can figure out a way to save himself. Oh no, not Tom Cruise, that very appealing actor. But don't pop open any champagne in celebration just yet, folks. As for some dumbass, barely explained reason, Tom Cruise is now immortal. Apparently, because he released the mummy, he is now the one Set will possess, and will be kept safe until said possession occurs. Yeah, none of that was established during the movie's opening exposition dump. But more importantly, we arrive at this movie's second really big problem. This is an action-adventure movie where the hero can't die. So all the suspense and sense of danger is completely absent. Now some of you might want to argue that the Deadpool movies have the exact same situation and somehow still work. Well, the reason why those movies work is that while Wade might be impervious to harm, his loved ones are not. So by putting them in danger, it raises the stakes. This movie, on the other hand, has no such stakes, because Tommy McDouches-a-lot cares about no one. Oh, and are you ready for this next bit of bullshit? Tommy Boy's comic relief sidekick reappears to him as an undead zombie ghost in order to give him cryptic bits of information. If that sounds familiar, it should, because they completely ripped it off from an American Werewolf in London. By the mummy's curse, by the Wolfman's fangs, by Dracula's ultra-rad Batman cape, I swear, John Landis, you will be avenged! Meanwhile, after wasting nearly 15 minutes on Tommy Boy's shenanigans, the movie suddenly remembers about its titular character.
Are you my mummy?
And reveals that the mummy's sarcophagus landed in a cemetery in London. Completely unexpendable characters are sent to investigate. Sorry, expendable. Expendable characters are sent to investigate. I'm sorry, I completely read that wrong. My bad. Thus, we arrive at the third and biggest problem with this movie. It takes place in modern-day London. Say what you want about the Brendan Fraser mummy movies, but those movies take place in Egypt in the 20s. So whether or not the mummy was on screen, everything about the movie reminded you of the mummy. Here, we have yet another generic action movie with lots of scenes of Tom Cruise running. They could literally retitle this Mission Impossible 8: The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, and nobody would be able to tell the difference. So because of the curse, Jerkface Tom is drawn to the cemetery where the mummy is lurking. Wait, the magic dagger that she needed to complete the possession spell just so happened to be hidden in that very mausoleum? Convenient! Luckily for tomfoolery, the dagger is missing the Infinity Stone that makes it work. So Tom lives to douche another day. And after beating up some very expensive CG, he makes a run for it.
Were you just gonna leave me?
You saw that, right?
You were gonna leave me!
You saw it, right?
But it doesn't take long for Aminet to catch up to them.
Kick her off!
That's the best thing I ever saw.
Unfortunately, before Aminet gets a second chance to go upside his head, they are miraculously rescued by a group of mercenaries, who once again capture the mummy very easily, even though she has the powers of a god. After the mercenaries take Tommy Boy through a room full of Easter eggs, it is revealed that their leader is none other than Dr. Henry Jekyll, played by Russell Crowe. Boy, they were trying really hard to turn this into a franchise.
For chaos. For the suffering of others.
Hold on. Dr. Jekyll is using his serum to stop himself from turning into Mr. Hyde? That's not how it works. It's backwards. Dr. Jekyll takes his serum to become Mr. Hyde. And it's not like this is another film studio badly adapting the character. This is Universal Studios, the original House of Monsters. Hell, even the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen got this right. And that movie was laughably bad.
Bravo, Edward! Bravo!
So Dr. Jekyll's men chain up the mummy and begin pumping her with mercury, which is apparently the mummy's weakness now. Morons. Everybody knows that the mummy's only weakness are adorable little kitty cats.
Look at that guy.
So Dr. Jekyll reveals his very stupid plan to dumb Cruise. They will keep the very dangerous mummy alive so they can dissect and study her, and he will finish performing the ritual on Tom so he can be possessed by Set. And then he will kill him so he can destroy evil. Let me see if I have all the stages of your plan in the correct order. You are going to turn him into an immortal god and then kill him.
That sounds like a dumb idea for poop heads.
Then, I guess the writers got really lazy, cause shit starts to happen without rhyme or reason. Dr. Jekyll starts turning into Mr. Hyde, even though he just took his serum a few minutes ago. And the mummy uses her powers to hypnotize one of the guards to aid her in her escape, even though the mercury should be canceling out her powers.
Are you my mummy?
Don't you just love Easter eggs that remind you of better movies? So as it turns out, the Infinity Stone that the mummy needs to power the dagger is hidden in a medieval tomb under London. Why in Heidel's hairy hindquarters are all these ancient Egyptian artifacts hidden in London? So Tommy the Butt Munch tries to get away through the underground when suddenly Aminette kidnaps Dr. Hotness and drowns her, tempting Tom to allow her to perform the ritual on him, as being possessed by Set will give him power over death, and he could potentially use said power to bring Dr. Hotness back to life. That's the climax of The Mummy Returns. Remember how Anaxanamun kills Evie O'Connell, and then her brother and son have to use the Book of the Dead to bring her back? There's just one itty-bitty little difference between that movie and this movie. You see here, Tom Cruise and Dr. Hotness don't have a relationship! In the previous Mummy movies, the characters and their relationships are very well established, so you feel the weight and desire of Evie's brother and son as they desperately try to save her. Here, Jerkwad Cruise slept with this woman, stole a map from her, and at one point was going to leave her for dead. Ash and Linda B have a stronger relationship. So Tom tries to get the mummy to bring Dr. Hotness back to life by employing his usual brand of brilliant strategizing.
That's the best thing I ever saw.
So after taking the ass kicking he should have gotten for Mission Impossible 2, the mummy has Tommy Boy at her mercy. It was in her hand. You can't pickpocket somebody if the desired item is in their hand. They would feel... Who wrote this? Okay, all that's left is for Tommy Boy to destroy the Infinity Stone. Then the mummy won't be able to complete the ritual, fulfill her side of the bargain, so Set will drag her damn soul all the way down to the underworld. And the day will be effectively saved. Okay, so now Set will possess Tom, and along with the mummy, they will take over the world, right? Nope! For no good fucking reason, Tom Cruise can somehow control the god of death, and uses his power to defeat the mummy, bring Dr. Hotness back to life, and ride into the sunset before the credits roll. That is one of the lamest, laziest endings I have ever seen. This movie's a simpering sarcophagus of sacrilege. I hope you paid attention during this review, because this is what could have happened to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, way back when Marvel was collaborating with Paramount to get the cinematic universe started, Tom Cruise was set to produce Iron Man and star as Tony Stark. And because Marvel was such a young studio, they would have been at Tom's mercy, since he would have had substantial control of their first movie. Luckily, he lost interest, dropped out, Robert Downey Jr. stepped in, and the rest is history. From the moment that I heard that Tom Cruise weaseled his way into this franchise, I knew this was going to happen. That he would take a monster movie and make it about himself instead of the titular monster. To a degree, I can't blame Universal for giving him so much control. After all, they failed to start this franchise on their own twice. So I'm not shocked that they placed themselves at the mercy of the cruise missile. What shocks me is that originally this franchise was going to be produced and overseen by none other than Guillermo del Toro. Yes, the director of Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth was going to be the Kevin Feige of the Dark Universe, but creative differences led to him dropping out. So Universal got into bed with Tom Cruise, and Guillermo del Toro turned around and made a monster movie that won a fucking Oscar. The term epic fail doesn't even begin to cover it. And somehow, someway, Universal still expected this to succeed. Merchandise was made for this movie. Cruise was under contract to appear in up to 3 more Dark Universe movies. Actors were already signed on to play the other monsters. And a remake of The Bride of Frankenstein starring Angelina Jolie was in pre-production, when suddenly Universal pulled the plug after this movie severely underperformed, making this the 3rd strike for the Dark Universe, and hopefully the last. Seriously, Universal, give it a rest. It's just not meant to be. But the fact that it was Tom Cruise who was solely responsible for stopping the return of one of my all-time favorite movie franchises fills me with a rage that makes me want to... I hate it when that happens. Well, there's only one thing left to do. Jarvis, drop my needle. How was the Phantom Zone? Are you done trying to kill me today? I have things to do.
Fair enough. That little trip to the Phantom Zone you sent me on put me behind schedule. I too have things to do.
Well, don't let me keep you.
While I'm away, do me a little favor and review a movie for me.
What if I say no?
Oh, I have a feeling you're gonna want to bust this one.
Hey yo, this video is old. If you want to see brand new episodes of the Blockbuster Buster, go to dailymotion.com/blockbusterbuster. And if you want to join the Legion of Badassitude, hit that subscribe/follow button. And join the Legion, suckers!
Nice!